Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is my 2022 wish list. The top 10 notes that made my wish list for 2022. Hopefully I'll be able to get some of these. I don't know what is going to be first on my targeting list, but it's always important to have a list to go by. Especially after you start collecting, because now you've gotten a taste for what's out there, and you aren't going to be as surprised. So you want to start making a list of notes that you want to get. And you guys have seen the bulk of my collection. These are the notes that I am targeting for 2022. Some of these were on my wish list for last year as well. I did knock off quite a bit of those notes, quite a few of those notes, but I still have a couple of those previous on this particular list. So let's take a look at the top 10 notes that are on my 2022 wish list. Number 10. This is a $100 Federal Reserve banknote. This particular one happens to be from Chicago. I've got the 100, obviously, it's in my hand. I've got the 50, I've got the 20, I've got the 10. The note I don't have is the 5, believe it or not. A $5 Federal Reserve banknote that would complete my series of Federal Reserve banknotes, having one of each denomination. So that, even though it's not a very expensive note at all, it's just a note I haven't noticed. I haven't realized that I didn't have that particular note. You'd think a note that inexpensive would easily be attainable for me. Well, for some reason, I just haven't picked one up yet. So that is number 10 on my list, the $5 version of the Federal Reserve banknote. I don't even care which reserve it is. I just want to get one that's in semi-decent condition. Number 9. I was always fascinated by this particular note. This is a $2 silver certificate. It's called the Windham note. It's William Windham that's pictured on there. He always reminds me of one of the guys from The Sopranos. He looks like Paul Sorvino, in my opinion. Every time I see it, that's who I think of. You can see this is the series of 1891. The $2 silver certificate featuring Paul Sorvino. No, it's not. The Windham $2 silver certificate. Just a fascinating note. There are two different types of backs on these, if I remember right as well. I want to say this is the same series as the Martha Washington note. So yeah, kind of an important note in history, and features a not so famous person. I think this is the only appearance of William Windham on our currency. So yeah, this is also on my list. I find it an intriguing note. It's a note not many people see, yet it's a note most of us can afford, and definitely has some uniqueness to it. That's number 9 on my list. Number 8. This particular note is a $20 national currency. This one's from the National Bank of Decatur, Illinois. This is from the second series, the second charter. It is known as the brownback. Now, this is a $20 brownback. The note that I'm looking for, oddly enough, the $20 brownback did not make the top 100. I'm looking for the $5 brownback. $5 brownback is roughly as expensive as the 20, and it is part of the top 100. I was surprised to see that. I believe the 50 is also on the top 100, but the 50 is also much more expensive. So if I'm going to have a brownback, I'd like it to be one of the ones that are on the top 100. So I'm going to be targeting the $5 brownback. Once again, not really caring which particular bank it is. I just want to get one of the, just one to fill the typeset, a $5. This particular one is this one says 1893 here. The series was 1892 or 1882 to 1902, if I remember correctly. So yeah, the $5 version of a brownback, to me, that would just be a really cool note to have. That is number 8 on my list. Number 7. This note I probably should have put a little bit higher on my list. When I was thinking of individual notes, I thought of the 1869 $5 rainbow note. This note came to mind, but what I didn't realize was that I have a 1907 wood chopper. I also have the public error wood chopper. So to have the 1869 rainbow wood chopper would pretty much complete the set. So yeah, having an 1869 rainbow wood chopper would be a very cool addition. Now it's called the rainbow, of course, because only in 1869 did they have the blue background that faded into the green background, and then you compare it to the red on the seal, and then the color of the paper. You have almost a complete rainbow here on the particular note. And they kept the design for this particular note all the way till 1907, but like I said, only the 1869 version had that rainbow effect. That's the back of the note there. So yeah, an 1869 $5 wood chopper, the rainbow note, would be an excellent addition to my collection. That is number 7. Number 6 on the list. Another national currency note. This one is from the first charter. It's a $1 national currency. A $1 national currency note is known as the ace. I've got the lazy deuce. I do not have an ace. It would be very neat to get one of these. I do know where there is one. It's just a matter of negotiating the price and coming up with the money. So who knows? Maybe this may be one of the first editions for 2022. But yeah, I do know where one is. It's fairly close by. So with a little luck, maybe you'll be seeing the real version of this one pretty soon. Taking a quick look at the back there. This design has been used on the backs of numerous $5 bills, if I remember correctly. But the $1 ace, a national currency, the first charter national currency. You can see here's the charter number here. Now, some of the originals from 1865 to 1875, if I recall, don't even have the charter numbers printed on the notes themselves. So we'll see what, if I happen to score one of these, we'll see how old it happens to be. This particular one, like I said, is number 6, 109876. Number 5 on my list. This is a $100 gold certificate. I've got a 10, I've got a 20. I don't have the 50, but the $100 gold certificate is basically the last small-sized $100 bill that I do not have in my collection. Technically, I don't have a Type 2 national as well, but I do have a Type 1, so having a national currency, a small-sized national 100, I've got that, just not a Type 2. So technically a Type 2 as well, but this is the one I'm targeting. The $100 small size gold certificate. This particular one's 1934. That would be a really interesting note to add, like I said, because it completes my small size $100 bills. My replica happens to be a large size. My replica also happens to have a gold back. The real one does not. The real one has a green back. So yeah, it would just be neat to see these side by side, and also to complete my small size $100 bill collection. Number 5, 109876, hit number 5. Number 4 on the list. I had looked at a couple of these and almost pulled the trigger a couple times. This is a $2 legal tender. I do have the $1 legal tender. This is the $2 legal tender from 1862. It is the first incarnation of our currency. Anything before this was obsolete banknotes. Our money was put out by individual banks, and with banks going under and people not knowing whether or not banks were still solvent, the government stepped in and started issuing money. The 1862 note, you're going to see it's got 1, 2, 3 right over here, and on the $2 note, the 2 is highlighted. On the $1 note, the 1 would be highlighted, which is interesting because there's also a 3, and well, they never printed a $3 bill, but you can see that they were prepared to. So I always found that pretty interesting. Not necessarily just seeing it on this particular note, because on this particular note, it doesn't have the context. But if you have the $1 note and the $2 note side by side, you will clearly see the 1 and the 2 highlighted and the 3 just waiting there. Anyway, that is the 1862 $2 note. This is number 4 on my wish list. I didn't even know if I showed the back on that one. Number 3. I have a $10 silver certificate. This particular one is 1886 $10 silver certificate known as the Tombstone note. Vice President Hendrix is featured on the tombstone, and you can see he is bordered by that tombstone shape. He was put on here because he died in office in 1885. So they put a tribute to him, calling the 1886 note his note. I do not know if it is called the tombstone because of the shape of the frame, or if the shape of the frame became known as a tombstone because they called this a tombstone note because he had just died. Probably the shape of the frame. I don't think that they may have designed the name of that particular shape based on this note, but I don't know it for a fact. Either way, a tombstone note from 1886. They also made a 1902 version, 1901 version, I think a 1902 version of this as well. That'll have a blue seal. So here's a silver certificate with a red seal. That's something you don't see too often. Either way, a tombstone from 1886, number 3 on my wish list. Number 2, $5 silver certificate from 1923. This is the Porthole, $5 Porthole note. One of the few large-size silver certificates that I do not have from the 20th century. Now, the Porthole features Lincoln front and center, one of the bigger portraits that you're going to find, especially with the outline of that porthole. When you look at that note, this is what you are drawn to. You are definitely drawn to this particular focal point, and after that, then you look to see the denomination. So it's an interesting note from that point. Very intricate work around the edges here. Very cool work. Take a look at the back. You can see through the 1920s they used these rays like this. Now on the 1923 legal tender, the $10 note was known as the poker chip, and they have 2 circles on the side with the rays, and that became known as the poker chip, but has a very similar ray pattern like that. Even though this is a silver certificate and the poker chip is a legal tender, you can see how they were definitely done in the same time period. So this is the 1923 Porthole note featuring Lincoln, $5 silver certificate, number 2 on my wish list. And number 1, unfortunately, my number 1 hasn't changed from last time, I do not believe, because, well, I still don't have it. This is the replica of a 1922 $20 gold certificate. I have this particular note. The note that I'm looking for is the 1905 Technicolor version of this note. Now, the Technicolor obviously is going to be 1905. It's going to have a yellow background here. It's going to have this 20 right here, bright yellow, and in gold coin is also going to be bright yellow. The back of the note's going to look the same, which can be kind of stunning if you aren't prepared for a bright orange background like that. But the Technicolor note, these go for $1,500 to $3,000 depending on condition, and I do not have one. You guys know how much I like this particular note. The only thing better than this note would be having the Technicolor note. So that would easily become my favorite note in my collection. Whereas currently this is the note that is tops on the list. So that is my 2022 wish list. You guys, like I said, should put together a wish list of your own. There are notes that each of you are interested in getting, and they don't have to be as pricey or as rare as or as spectacular as these. They can simply be notes that you have a desire and the ability to get. Like for instance, the $5 version of this. Why would that make my top 10? Well, like I said, I don't have it. It's a note that I overlooked. And now that it's on my top 10 wish list notes, I'll probably remember to pick it up. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.